hopefully now you can all see the content management system. So this the second part that I was going to show you and just walk you through now in real time is some of the kind of more feature updates that we've made of late, and I'm going to talk you through all the ones that really relate to accessibility beyond the kind of technical standards that we've looked at. So the first thing I'm going to do is go down to these amenity categories here. And for anyone who hasn't used the product in a while or can't remember, the amenity categories are a way for users to search and filter for certain amenities in the places that they're likely to visit. So what I'll do is I'll just create a new one here and just walk you through it as I do it. So I'm trying to attempt to type whilst also talking, so this will probably end terribly. But so the first thing I'm going to do is add a changing places toilet. So this is one that you'll be able to, in future, select from a list and let people know where that amenity is across various different sites. Again, that was a terrible description, but on that note of descriptions, this is where we would write one, and that will appear as soon as you click on one of these amenities in the front end, but I'll show you that stuff in a second, which is probably better than me trying to describe it. And the key thing is that we now have a dedicated accessibility icon set, which will be displayed essentially as a symbol on the map and in other places within the app to the user. As you can see here, we've got 35 of them. And as you can also see, as I've just done here, you can search for them if you wish. We ensured all of them start with the word accessibility, which allows you to just get that individual list because we've got, I don't know, at least 100 icons. So it just makes it a bit easier to find. Some of these we've designed in a house ourselves. And as you can see from these labels, we hope this covers off sort of most, if not all, of the kind of accessibility provisions that people would commonly provide. So there's a lot of things around the various different types of toilets, audio provision, as we can see here, things like quiet spaces, ramps, yeah, sign language, braille. So it gives a lot of scope, and these can be applied across the app, so across the platform. So anywhere where you've previously added an icon, whether it's if you were in Wiltshire adding it to say events, or whether it's just attached to a site as we're going to look at next, they will be available. And we hope it's just going to make it quite a bit more usable. So in this case, I can't remember what I was doing. It's a toilet, I believe, wasn't it? So yes, we'll have one of those. So I can add it here, and you can also see the keywords displayed alongside it there. So I'll add that and just quickly save it and confirm the review. And then what we can now do, which is new, is go to one of the sites. And this is a fictitious museum, essentially, just for context, but it's not like real, as it were. So I've go to the site, and you can see here that you could add a site category. So that's a way of helping users filter and search. But what we can now do is add these accessible amenity categories specifically. So I can add the changing places toilet one that I've just created, and that's displayed in the same way as other kind of tags you'd apply within the product. So you may well be familiar with it. But the really important change here is the ability to add details with this pretty obvious toggle that is on the main strip there. So the detail section in just basic sort of agricultural terms allows you to add a description and multiple images to that accessible amenity, which gives it a lot of scope, frankly. But what we also hope is that it covers off the kind of the same needs that you would get from access guides, which are really, really common for lots of places and venues and spaces. So yeah, in terms of it there anyway, we have the description here. As always, you can upload an image from your desktop, or you can select an existing one if you do have one. So in this case, I'll add the changing places image. I can add information here around it, and normally, there we go, spell that wrong. Normally, the kind of information you'd have here in accessibility context might be things like the height of the toilet, the height of the sink, the room dimensions, whether there's step-free access, whether you need a radar key to get into it. So if anyone who doesn't do this accessibility stuff a lot, that's the kind of provision you'd normally expect to have here. And naturally, you can also add an image, sorry, a caption to the image, which for all the reasons I described earlier on around working with assistive technologies. And then finally, we have the link here at the bottom. If you want to use that, it's optional. An example of why you'd use that would be for things like linking off to, say, mobility services or possibly transport services to get into and from the place or the space that's being represented. So I'll show you in a sec how these reflect in the app itself, which yeah, gives you hopefully a better idea around it. But to cover off a couple of the other changes we've made recently that Joe mentioned right at the start, so we now have the availability to generate the QR code, yeah, on each individual site, and it's very easy to do. And you can see you get the universal link here as well. So this is extremely handy if you do want to create those QR code based signs and direct people straight into the information that you think is going to be most relevant to them at that point in time. And that could well be scanned here to see the accessibility provision of this museum or this park or this whatever thing you're managing. Yeah, as Joe also, I believe, mentioned, we can now add a QR code scanner to the app itself. And that just makes the integration a bit simpler for users so that they can, yeah, essentially do it in app rather than having to sort of navigate away in any sense. So yeah, those are the main changes in terms of how they reflect in the content management system.